Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. In this video, I'm going to start a tour of the shrubs and trees that I've planted in this landscape project I've been working on during 2020 in Raleigh, North Carolina. This is Zone 7B, so everything you're seeing here is hardy in the shrub and tree video. Will be hardy in zone, at least in Zone 7B. Some of it is hardy up to Zone 5, and some of it's just barely hardy here in Zone 7. I'll put the names of the plants down below as we go. I'm going to be talking about the south side space right here and the screening plants that are behind me. I've got a neighbor that's very close on this side, and so most of these pieces along this line are planted with the intent of creating a visual barrier between the two properties here. So let's get started on this walk around. I'll have a second video in all likelihood, just broken out with the stuff that's on the north side and also the front yard as well. And then I'm going to be covering annuals and perennials and the other things that you're seeing in the video that I don't talk about. If I skip over something you see that's flowering, it will be in a separate video covering the perennials. Thanks for watching. I'll start here beside the screen porch. I haven't shown this side over here before. This has a red bud over the top of it that just kind of dominates this space, as you can see from the drone footage. So this area over here is part shady. It's on the south side, and the sun does sneak in here some, but for the most part, it's pretty shady most of the time. These are three heartthrob hydrangeas. This was an almost red variety. I did a video for this one several weeks back with these three plants. I just have gotten them in the ground this past week. These will be great here. This is a remontant red flowering hydrangea macrophylla. So this should brighten up this space next May and June. This camellia right here is called Bella Rouge. It's a super compact growing variety. Hadn't been in the ground that long. It blooms in the fall. It's got a few flower buds on it for this first fall, but not a whole lot, just because it's been newly planted. But that should be a nice piece there. This gardenia right here is called Scent Amazing. I've shown this one several times on the channel. Just like any gardenia, it went in the ground, it lost some interior leaves, it looked a little rough for a few weeks, and then I didn't panic and didn't overwater it, and it's flushed back out nicely, and it's blooming, and it's got flower buds coming on it for the fall, so that's nice. It blooms in the spring, and then a few residual flowers during the summer, and then tends to repeat bloom in the fall. So that one's called Scent Amazing. This WEIGELA here is called Shining Sensation. I did the video for this when I planted it in the ground. Really nice new burgundy foliage on this one, and pink flowers. Of course, I don't know why it's got flowers on it now. Most of the flowers will be in the spring on this one, with a occasional few flowers during the summertime. Just like that gardenia, it did thin out down at the bottom just a little bit when I put it in. But again, when things start losing leaves or they get a little stressed, back off on the watering on them. That tends to help, and then it's flushed back out. It's going to be really beautiful there when it leaves out next spring. It will lose its leaves here in the next 6 weeks or so. I'll go around some of this stuff right here. It's in containers and show that in a separate video. This is a David viburnum right here, super compact growing evergreen viburnum. Perfect piece for this spot where I just want something small and compact. Hasn't really grown at all since I put it in the ground this year, and I would expect that. They tend to be slow growing evergreen shrubs, but really great foliage on that plant. Back on this line, heading back up under this red bud, I'll start with this sunshine ligustrum right here. This one I'm going to allow to get pretty big. I'm going to allow it to get 6 feet or so, just to block the view into the neighbor's backyard there. There's an OSMANTHUS fragrans here helping me with that as well. They look great together. I've got another sunshine ligustrum I'm going to keep smaller. I'll show a little later in this video. There's a CHINDO viburnum here, which these can get gigantic, 20 feet tall plus. But kind of upright and narrow. This one was already here. It had 3 plants planted in the same pot, and I thinned those 2 down, and then I cut it back pretty drastically earlier in the year to try to get it to fill out in the middle, and it's starting to do that now. But it's got a ways to go, but it's coming back pretty quickly. This is a Juliet Clayera here. These variegated Clara, well, just Clara in general, are not going to be super fast to grow when you first put them in the ground. This one's grown, but it's maybe 50% bigger than it was when it was planted earlier this season. It'll get about the height of this chain link fence. This chain link fence is going to change in the future, but that's about where I want to keep it, somewhere in there. But this will be looking like this year round. And the last thing I'll show you is this Apricot Echo Osmanthus right here. This is an orange flowering Osmanthus, and it's flowered a few times during the summer. You might want to follow me on Instagram if you don't, at HORTTube, because I show photos of interesting flowering things in the yard during the season. These bloom when it's cool outside, so I expect sometime in October to start seeing some additional flowers on that orange flowering Osmanthus. So we just saw everything back here that's basically in the backyard on the south side of the porch right there. Coming out from that, I've got larger growing things here just to kind of create some sort of border. I'm in an urban space. The lots are small and the houses are obviously close together. So this barrier here is growing pretty quickly and is creating a nice, differentiation between the lots right here. You saw the sunshine ligustrum right here. There are actually 3 Osmanthus fragrans right here. There's one here, and one right there. They get the little white, super fragrant. There's tiny flowers, but you can smell them from a mile away, and they bloom in the cool season, same as the orange one back over there. I'll start to get some flowers on these sometime in October typically, and they'll bloom sporadically right through until it gets hot in the late spring next year. With a peak normally sometime in the spring. They'll get absolutely covered at some point during that period of time, but really nice evergreen backdrop. This is a screening. Osmanthus fragrans is a plant that you've got to be patient with if you're going to use it as a screening plant. It can take a few years really for it to take off, but once it does, it's pretty fast growing, but initially it can be a little bit slow. This is an ever red LOROPETALum. It was already here, and so I'm guessing it's ever red. It's got red flowers. Ever red has nice new purple foliage on it. The old leaves are kind of it's actually similar to ruby. It has that kind of a ruby green foliage on the old leaves. If you want one that's purple throughout, Purple Diamond is probably a better plant, similar size, similar growth habit to this one. Both have red flowers. Well, Purple Diamond may stay a little smaller than this one, but not a whole lot. This is a Distilleum here called Jewel Box. I showed this when it went into the ground in the video. Really nice, compact variety. I think this one's just going to be everywhere in the landscape. Beautiful blue-green foliage on it. Just a fantastic plant. It's looked like this since the day I put it in the ground here. I've got 3 Encore Azaleas planted here together. This is Autumn Lily, which is throwing a flower now, and it's budded up to do its fall blooming right now. I've got a Autumn Bonfire in this container right here. This is a red variety. It's actually the newest variety until next year. There's 2 new varieties coming out that I'll show you in the yard during these tour videos. Autumn Bonfire I put into this container. I did that in a video, and I just like the different heights here. I've got irrigation run into that container. Autumn Bonfire will get maybe 3 to 4 feet in height, something like that. It's hardy in zone 6 to 10. Beautiful red flowering plant. This is another one I put pictures on Instagram. This thing was blooming from the time I had put it in that container for just weeks and weeks and weeks. It was in flower. And then the one next to it right there is a super compact red one called Autumn Fire, and it's starting to flower again as well for fall. This Nandina right here is called Autofuku. It is a variegated, compact growing Nandina. It's similar to Firepower, but it's a variegated form of Firepower, and it'll turn red in the wintertime. But the new growth during the growing season is variegated. It's kind of starting to take on that orange tinge to it as the days are getting shorter now, and will be, like I say, it'll be bright red during the winter time. So here's the back of the screen porch right here, and here are the plants along the property line that I just showed. I've come behind those, and there's a few more things that have gone into here. There's a greenhouse project going on back here. Holly is inside of it right now, but there's a lot of work to do on it. But a few more things here that I'm using to screen. This is a mood ring Podocarpus. Got really super interesting new growth on it when it's growing. It's not growing now. It's right here at the end of the season. But this should be a nice vertical element here. This is a Miss Scarlet Elysium. I will eventually have the video on this one. I did shoot it when I put it in the ground. That is a red flowering Elysium that should fill this back corner space up in front of this greenhouse. This is a Ralston's Hardy Viburnum. I had actually planted several of these at the old house, and I had planted them right before we got a really bad freeze, like a few days before a really bad freeze, and they got knocked back there. They had recovered nicely before I left, but I never really got to see them put on a big show. It's in flower now, starting to be in flower now. It's budded up. Typically blooms in the spring, but it will repeat bloom some in the fall. It's unfortunately very misplaced. I'm gonna have to move it for sure. This bed right here, and you can see this on the drone footage. This bed, there's a path that I've got going behind it, and then the turf area is in the front of it right there. And I kind of want down through the middle of this thing to be the tallest things that will be in this bed, so that I can create a layered effect of smaller things on this side of the path and smaller things on the turf side of the path. And this one's kind of sitting in the middle, and it stays super low and compact. It's going to need to move just out to here somewhere, and then something taller go in that space. No big deal. There's a gold WEIGELA here, and it's grown quite a bit. I think this is going to be a tricky plant for me here in the southeast, because these gold foliage plants like this can really fry in the full sun during the summertime, or if I put them in too much shade, where this one's starting to get some shade early in the afternoon, it stretches like this. So I'm going to prune it in the late winter and give it a season here and see if it will stay more compact than this next year. If it doesn't, then I'll have to move it out into a little more sun. But like I say, there is a delicate balance in the southeast with some of these gold plants like this, where you can get too much sun real quick. There is, speaking of gold plants, this is a hibiscus that I did from seed here. It'll be an annual. It'll be coming out. It has buried several other things in here. In the meantime, after I shoot some videos about it, I'm going to be cutting it back. Inside of there, I did plant that touch of gold holly right there, which of course right this second it's not getting quite enough sun to be super gold, but it's a perfect piece I have on that turf side over there, where it'll stay low and compact. But I got to get these things cut off of it here in the next few days. This is a variegated Hydrangea paniculata. Just like these white weddings are Hydrangea paniculatas right there. This is a variegated version of it. I don't think it'll ever bloom as well as those do, but it has super interesting foliage on it. Of course, I'm right here near the end of the season, so we're not going to see the best, of that. Again, with these, the sun can kind of work on something that's this color here in the southeast. So I've got it probably in a hair more shade than it would like to flower and be super compact, but I've got it. If I put it out in too much sun, I think it would be pretty ragged every summer by late summer. These are white wedding hydrangeas, and if you've followed me on Instagram or anywhere or seen any of my videos this summer, they were just in full spectacular form. Look how compact this variety is. I have not pruned these. These went in the ground back in February or March, and they came out, and they didn't have to put on 3 or 4 feet like a lot of Hydrangea paniculatas before they flowered. Just super compact. I think we're looking at maybe 6 to 8 inches of growth before they bloomed, and then they're super sturdy stemmed. And so where you might see your Hydrangea paniculata varieties flopping right now, these are sitting up big and tall right here at the end of the season. Of course, they were bright white, and now they're fading as the season. They're great for cut flowers as well. I'll show you one more piece here in this video, and then I'll move further down the line in the next video for the shrub series. This is a golden Oakland holly right here. It's going to get very tall and narrow in this space, but it has the variegated foliage on it right there. It'll be a nice backdrop to other things, and then I'll put something lower here. I've got a lot of space along this back path here to plant things coming up this fall. In the second video in this series, I'll show you the rest of the shrubs in this backyard. space and then go around to the front yard and show you the shrubs that I've put in the ground this year and you know, how they're performing thus far in the first season in the ground. Thanks for watching.